What's up? We're live, folks. Listen, I got a real intro going there. It actually looks like a professional thing. We're faking it till we make it around here. I think we got a fake little thing going there that makes us look legit. Hope everyone's doing well. I think this video says safeties on the title because I'm an idiot. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe our guy Ian here and Ian McBride here helped us out and got us squared away on that title. If you're joining us on YouTube, Periscope, there's a bunch of different ways you can join us. Thanks for joining us. We are here to continue talking about draft prospects. My man, the myth, the legend, Browns Daily Mock. Steve, how are you, my friend?
I'm only one of those three things, but I'm pretty good. Yeah, that intro.
You're a legend, then.
The intro and the music, it makes it sound like, Robert Stack should be introducing Unsolved Mysteries at the end of it or something. So
yeah, man. Hey, I found the right guy. This guy on Fiverr, man.
It's kick-ass.
He'll drop your intro in. It's pretty sweet. So I suggest if anyone wants that for their videos, if they do that sort of thing, he can do it for $12. Pretty bargain friendly. So we're going to talk interior defensive line. We are in the midst at the OBR here of going through a bunch of different positions. We've covered corner, we've covered safety, and some of you asked, we didn't get to do a corner video. Maybe if Steve and I have some time before the draft, we will do a specific cornerback focus video on draft prospects. We probably will because we missed it. We didn't have this quite set up in time. We'll get there. And then we did one on safeties. We've done one on rush players, edge players, defensive ends, whatever you want to call them. And we'll keep going down the line. We're going to do this one. We'll have linebackers in the coming weeks. We'll have wide receivers in the coming weeks. We're going to talk through all of the important positions as we're doing as a whole with the OBR in general. If you're checking us out, if you're a subscriber there, this is a public one. Hopefully some of you guys can take advantage of the great deals we have at the OBR and join us. That'd be awesome. In the meantime, let's talk interior defensive line. Not the biggest need, but yet a need. Let's talk about who's on the roster right now. Sheldon Richardson, as we know, pretty hefty price tag here going into his final year, a potential restructure candidate. We'll see. They definitely have to keep him around. He was their best interior defensive player now for the past 2 years. Expect them to keep him around. We'll see if they can soften his cap hit a little bit. Then you have, Larry Ogunjobi was the other starter, had over 700 snaps. Larry is a free agent. If the market gets strange, there's a potential Larry could come back on a cheap deal if he's interested. Let's talk about the way this salary cap structure has sort of made things tough for the middle market players, veterans, and those deals in the middleman group. So it's potential that Larry could be back. We don't know one way or the other. We have Jordan Elliot, who I just wrote a film room on, put that up, the rookie out of Missouri they took in the third round. Vincent Taylor, another player that they have got some unexpected production out of, picked him up right before the season on waivers. Some nice production out of him. And then it was just kind of a collection behind that of guys just getting a couple snaps here and there that we're not even going to really spend a ton of time on. But those are the four guys. Andrew Billings, as we know, comes back potentially, kind of the way his interview with, I think it was the Akron Beacon Journal, he went last week. It sounded like as long as things are better globally, he will be interested in coming back this year. We'll have to see as the summer hits what that looks like as a country, what that NFL is going to do about players if they want to opt out again. We'll see. Down the line, we'll see. But for now, we count Andrew Billings as coming back and under contract. So, Steve, we'll start it off with, where are you on Larry? Are you signing him back, or would you rather see something else at that position, see what they can do draft-wise, and maybe even consider signing a guy? Because I know you wrote about the best free agent options. So maybe talk to me, not me, I know your stuff, the folks listening, about the best free agent options, and then kind of where you stand on whether Larry will be back or not.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I agree with you as far as Larry goes. It's all going to depend on the market, and with COVID and the unprecedented drop in the cap, I don't think anybody can accurately predict. Outside of maybe the top 5 free agents, we know they're going to get their money. Other than that, everybody else is a crapshoot. So, like you said, if things fall a certain way for Larry's market, he may look at it and say, "Hey, I'm comfortable in Cleveland. I know the system. I know the people around me. I see that they're bringing in people to help around me. Maybe I come back on a short, 1 year, 2-3 million, whatever that number is, and try to pad my stats for next year when everyone expects the cap to go back up, to a reasonable amount, and then he can cash in next year." I like Larry. I've liked him since his draft cycle, but I'm with you. It's just the consistency hasn't been there. So I'm not sure. As far as the interior defensive line on the free agent market, we've been saying it for a while. unless somebody unexpected pops out as a potential trade candidate, there's really not a ton out there. Leonard Williams, I don't know if they would, if he actually even hits the market. Big Blue would be stupid, I think, to let him hit the market. But if he does hit the market, I don't know that they want to pay that kind of money, because he's going to be the only top end free agent. You know, a guy like Dalvin Tomlinson might make some sense, but then they would definitely have to at least restructure Sheldon. One possibility that's interesting to me, and it's sort of a dual thing, would be Ndamukong Suh. If it doesn't work out in Tampa, excuse me, you bring him in. He played this past year, 1 year, $8 million. He's projected between 6 and 7 for another 1 year deal. So if you can, let's say you can restructure Sheldon, get his cap hit, not necessarily his money, but his cap hit down to 8-ish, and you bring in Sue at 6. Well, now you're getting Sheldon and Ndamukong Suh for a year at $14 million, whereas right now Sheldon by himself is 13.5. Then you throw in, you know, JJ Watt's the one that keeps getting thrown around. Let's say you bring in JJ Watt and Ndamukong Suh. Now you've got immediate impact for year one of your Super Bowl window. Then you draft a guy at 26 or 59 or wherever at edge and IDL to come in and learn behind him and take over next year or the year after. That's the best of both worlds, short term and long term. And as far as working out the contracts and everything, Andrew Berry's a lot smarter than I am. I trust that he could work out all the details. I'm painting in general strokes here, but yeah, I think that would be an interesting way that they might go if it all falls a certain way.
Yeah, and really we're going to look at these draft prospects that it's not a deep interior class. Like there's some names that you and I like as we go through this, but it's not a class. So the ability to potentially run it back, and even last year, I know there was a bunch of 1 year deals, and I expect, like we thought, you and I had this discussion back then when they signed Andrew Billings. Like, I can't believe they got Andrew Billings for that cheap. Right. And maybe that's the same scenario where Larry comes back on the cheap deal, and they can just kind of run it back with the group again and then attack it at a later date, you know, next year's draft, whatever. But again, listen, this is not to say we should just stop the video now. There's no one they can draft. They can draft guys. There are guys here that we like, but it is not a deep class that if you don't get a guy at a certain point, you feel, we can get one later. I don't know. It gets kind of thin. And I think there are going to be 32 teams that are always eyeing improving their interior defensive line, that these guys could get snatched up really fast. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump in and talk about these guys, and we'll see what's out there. We're looking at 5 guys specifically. As usual, we break down some guys we think that might be out of the picture due to a myriad of reasons. Marvin Wilson, Florida State product, 6'4", 305. He's played a good amount of time at Florida State. He had 2 grades of 90 and above in the 18-19 season for Pro Football Focus, dipped below 70 to a 67.7 just last year. And we'll try to keep his stuff up here because we're going to talk about him for a second. Listen, he's a guy who came into the year with first-round buzz, first-round hype. It was not a good year for him. Like I said, only 229 snaps, a little injury issue, not a good Senior Bowl either. I'm kind of looking at my notes here to the right side screen. Only 7 run stops, which are considered plays in which constitute a loss or a negative gain for at a 0 gain or negative gain for the team running the football. He's 7 of those, only 1 sack, 3 hits on the quarterback, and 8 hurries. So, listen, I think, like I said, a guy who came in the year with a lot of hype. I know you got some age things with him too as we look at the parameters that we've looked at. If you've watched these other videos, Steve, where are you at on Marvin? And where are you comfortable if he were to be on the board? I know that I put up a mock draft before this started with him kind of selected in the 100, like 110, I think was pick where I took him. Where are you at with him, or do you think he sticks around that long? Well, that's the question. What are teams going to look at? Are they going to look at the raw ability? Because all that athleticism and the burst and the splash plays and everything, they're still there. But he finished 2 straight seasons with injuries. And then this year, like you said, just didn't have much of a year. But did anybody at Florida State? How much of the Florida State situation, anytime you're looking at one of their defensive prospects, how much does that affect it? I think I'm with you. If he were to fall into that late day 2, early day 3 range, and I don't know if he will, I would be comfortable taking a shot at somebody with his athleticism. Now, you mentioned the age. He turns 23 in early September. So it's not like he's one of these guys. There's a bunch of them that turn 23 like in the next few weeks. And I know that last year they did draft some 22-year-olds, but is there a hard cutoff date for Andrew Berry? Is it before the season? Is it before camp? Is there one? I don't know what that is. So it's something that where he would definitely have to fall to the right range. And like you said, in a thin class, an explosive athlete like him, I don't know if he's going to fall into that range where we would be comfortable with him. I'm with you. I think it'll be interesting to see where he's at, and if he goes, like you said, earlier than is expected. But if he's there in the late third, it could be interesting to pay attention to. Next up, this is caught myself off guard here a little. I think it's Levi
Onwuzurike,
Man, I've got an English degree, but I don't have that. That's a good one. I didn't plan on that. I had a lot of notes on names. I did not plan on that. Talk to me about him. What do you got?
It's too bad that he turns 23 next week, first week of March, because I really like his game. If you watch him, he's fast, he's quick, he's got really strong hands, and he's got a motor that never quits. But whereas I said I don't know if 23 in September is too much, I'm almost positive 23 in March is. I would be very surprised if he's on Andrew Berry's radar.
Yeah, a guy who Pro Football Focus kind of measures out at about a second-round grade. That's where they label him. 18 season, he had a 90.8 total grade and 391 snaps. I think he was a sophomore at that point. 19 season, he had an 82.5 mark and 504 snaps. He's 7 sacks in his career, ton of run stops, an effective run game player. 6'3", 293, so a little bit more Ogunjobi type body build, as you can see in the photo right there. A guy who is built athletically, a little different than some of the defensive tackles you'll see in the next guy that we'll see. So more of a 3-tech guy who can get after the quarterback a little bit. Like I said, nice numbers, and really 42 hurries in 2 years is a nice number. So if they're interested, if they bend on that number for age, he's an interesting prospect. That's for sure. Let's keep moving. I think Tyler Sheldon is our next guy. Comes up. Let me see here. Is this video scrolls through? It's tough to time these up a little bit. There he is. So we have Tyler Sheldon. Is we're going to talk about another guy who's built to kind of handle the run game more than the pass game. I think Tyler Sheldon is really a guy who is built to handle run more than pass. So, with Sheldon, if I can get this video to work, man. Jeez, Jake.
They're giving away our secrets for the next guy.
Dang, friggin' A. He did not play in the 2020 season. He's a big fella. He's 6'2", 346, so he is wide. He plays wide, and that is, as some people would consider, a position that is a way of playing defensive tackle that, as we see the Grady Jarretts of the world and we see the Aaron Donalds of the world, it's a dying breed, and you don't see many run stuffing focused defensive tackles anymore. So, if you look at his 18 and 19 season, as he didn't play in 20, 75.9 for 2018 and 80.4 2019. He had 5 hurries over those 2 years. He had no hurries, 1 quarterback hit, and 2 sacks in the 18 season. The 19 season, he had no sacks, a singular quarterback hit, and 5 hurries. So he is a run defending player. And I think that is where, listen, there might be a team out there who wants a 0-nose, plays a 3-4, more structured on having that guy be a 2-gap run player, but it's hard to see this defense the way it's structured going after somebody like him. Talk to me about what you know about Tyler.
I think you hit it right on the head. 15, 20 years ago, he'd have been far more in vogue as, a run plugger. He's a space eater, one of those guys that he's just, you can't run to either side of him because he's always going to be there. Plus, another thing, I hate to keep banging on the age, but he turns 23 over the summer. So I would be, like you just said, I would be very surprised if his skill set for this Cleveland Browns team is on the radar, especially in the range that he's projected.
Yeah, I think that kind of sums it up why we're out on Tyler, but somebody will take him. Somebody will take him in the middle rounds, and hopefully he can develop a little bit more on that side of things. So let's talk about the home run hitter of this class. Christian Barmore, 6'5", 310 redshirt sophomore, is 21 years old, at which he will play at that age this upcoming season as a rookie, which is young, which is what the Browns are trending toward. They want as many of those guys to play 21, 22, 23, and 24 before they hit a free agency number. And some of them, if they're a first-round guy, play until they're 25 with the Browns, as I think that might be an interesting number to kind of keep paying attention to, that 21-year-old sweet spot there. But, yeah, look at the stats in front of you. Just a really good football player, and an 87.8 Pro Football Focus grade in 19, effective in both departments, 14 run stops, 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. The comparison that we have here based on the couple draft guides I've seen, this is not the first time I've seen it's Gerald McCoy. I think that there's some similarities there for sure. I can see definitely definitely a guy who can bend from the interior, which is something that we like about him. He can play after the quarterback, but he's a guy. Listen, this guy, the modern guy that I like is somebody who can play pass rush until the football is handed off. Guys who play pass first interior, get after the quarterback, and play the run on the way to the quarterback. I think that's pretty important. And he's a B gap alignment. So the thing that's interesting this past year, he's a 3-tech. And 18 and 19, 19 and 20, that's where the majority of his snaps were. So he's a move guy. He can get around, he can move, he can twist, he can stun. He's got nice pass rush moves. We're going to dip into the clip, Steve. But what do you like about Barmore?
Yeah, pretty much all that. Plus, he's big, he's powerful, he's got heavy hands. He's bursty, which is one of my pet words. He can, when he wants to be, he can be past the offensive lineman and in the quarterback's lap when he wants to be. But he's also, like you said, he's smart enough to keep his eyes open. And, so he's not somebody that can be pushed past the quarterback all that frequently because he doesn't get out of position. He's got some pretty good gap discipline. But I doubt they would go IDL at 26. But if there's one guy that might make sense, it's the guy who just made that play right there. Yeah,
the thing I like is he doesn't let offensive linemen get into his chest plate and dictate him and lean on him. He uses his hands so effectively. Those first 3 reps, all swim moves, all club swims that ended up resulting in getting off. Another swim. You see his left arm there climbing up to make the play laterally. Another swim. I mean, he does not let people get into his chest. What looks familiar there? Another swim. I mean, he is an effective get off me player. He wants to disengage with you as quick as he can. That to me is important. You can't just lean on people at the NFL. That's what we've seen. The power moves that you have used at the younger levels are not going to translate. You've got to be able to have speed moves. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. You can't just bull rush your way at the NFL level because everybody is just as strong as you or stronger. He can get around, and then once he gets there, he can grab these guys. I mean, as a Notre Dame fan, that brought back some bad memories. And Ian Book, as much as I'm not really all that high on him as a prospect, he was very quick, and elusive. That was one of the things that he has in his skill set. And Barmore ran him down like it was, like he wasn't even trying. I mean, now, this is not to say that he doesn't have the power moves. We're just not seeing him in these clips right here. He can definitely just walk somebody in front of him right back into the quarterback's lap if he wants to. And I think the fact that like you said, he's just now 21, he's still growing, man, which is freaky for a guy that's already 6'5" and 315 or whatever he's listed at.
Somebody made a good point last week, which was we're just talking about the highlights of guys, not necessarily talking about where they struggle or what inconsistencies they have. And I think that that's something you have to talk about with each guy. I think that it needs to be talked about. I think there's a level of game-to-game consistency with Barmore that has to be more just say the repetitive word, but he has to be more consistent. We've seen the flashes. He's got great flashes, right, but he's got to be a more consistent football player. And listen, if you rely too heavily on swim moves and don't do enough power moves, guys in the NFL who make a living watching film are going to get up inside you and just bury you. When you expose your chest plate all the time as your consistent singular move, they're going to bury you. So that's something he's got to add a counter move. He's got to add more consistency as a bull rusher. He's proven he can win with speed. He's proven he can win with that. Can he win with the club rip? Some different things. So Barmore is the barometer here. He go anywhere middle first round to the end of the first round. I don't see him sneaking into the second round whatsoever. But if you're looking second round, where the Browns might fall, this is where it becomes interesting because this guy right here is talented. It's a guy that Devion Nixon just turned 22, I believe, so he will play 22 years old this season, 6'3", 306, a young guy, still redshirt sophomore. He's played 2 seasons. His second year here was where he made the biggest difference, 7 sacks, 16 hurries, a couple batted passes, 16 run stops. He was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, the D Lineman of the Year, first team All Big Ten. Really great season, really effective overall, a guy that a lot of people like for a lot of different reasons. I'll let you go ahead and talk a little bit about him.
Yeah, JUCO transfer, turns 23 in December, which if I had to guess, I mean, they drafted a few 22-year-olds last year. I think that's within the guardrails. And it's interesting to see because back at towards the end of the season, he was projected on all the boards, that he wouldn't even be there at 26. And now I see him frequently available at that 59 pick when you go through things. Now, obviously, these are media boards. They could vary differently from the NFL boards. And this year, maybe even more than normal. I don't know. But he's he's big, he's strong, he's super fast. You'll see there's a few clips in here. His agility, his feet are just amazing. It's fantastic, the athleticism that this guy has. And he seems to be, at least to me, like you were saying early with Barmore, he's the kind of guy that he's fast enough and quick enough to get into the backfield and play the pass. But you'll see a couple of clips here. He can stop mid pass rush, recognize what's going on, and get into the run game rather quickly. And I think that's if he's there at 59 and they haven't addressed IDL to this point, obviously other things factor in, it would be really, really, really easy to talk me into adding this guy to Cleveland.
Well, Pro Football Focus is just one metric. They project him in the 4th round. I don't think he goes in the 4th round. I think he's a better football player than that. Again, these guys are using their methods. They're going to be all over the map. I think he's definitely a late second, a mid to late second, early 3rd round guy potentially. It's hard to see him making it to the 3rd round, but maybe he does. I don't know. But a lot of skill. So we'll watch some clips of him here. I think this one here, I like to shout out who these come. I think this is a Brad Kelly clip on Twitter. He kind of uses the pencil to point him out. I want to make sure we shout out people that we are able to use some of the film there. Good hands, active hands, good club swipe right there. I like that move. Again, a guy who lined up in the B gap quite a bit. Good job getting skinny, beating double team right there. It's a beautiful play in the backfield right there. That in and out move, right? You got to use different methods to get after the quarterback. And this is what I like is he's got a variety of moves. How about that play right there?
Yeah, I mean, and he was obviously unblocked, but anytime a guy that big can force a jet sweep to just be done before it even has a chance to start is impressive. You can see his moves. He's got good hands. He's got powerful hands. But watch the footwork right there. Yeah. That one looks to me, if this was a wide receiver that was a release, we would be going, ooh, great release. And it's coming from a guy, 6'3", 310 or whatever he's listed at. You look at these plays. They just have no chance. They have absolutely no chance because he's far too nimble right off the snap there, and then he's by him, and he's strong enough to finish the play.
He's got a great feel where schemes are going. I don't think people understand that. Sometimes I just have to play my gap. I got to play B gap here. I got to be responsible. I got to hold down. But then there's that's fine. You're playing B. That's your responsibility. But where's the play ultimately going? That's what you have to figure out and process. He does a nice job of figuring that out. I think he would be a guy who's a little bit more prepared to get after the quarterback. And in my opinion, that's a role that we should cherish or value higher than playing run game all the time. So I'm high on him. I would be completely and utterly fine if the Browns selected him in the 2nd round. We exchanged texts saying that. I think that there is a little bit of his game that has to get better handling combo blocks. I think there's some consistency concerns, but I genuinely think if he can continue to get better at shedding blocks, and we've seen some reps here of him doing it, if he can continually get better shedding blocks, working double teams, anchoring, he's going to be a really fun player. And another fun player is up next. I think it's pronounced Jay Tufele, right? Did I get that right? Tufele. God dang it. 6'3", 305, redshirt sophomore, another guy who's young, 21 years old, opted out of 2020, but his 2019 was very strong. First team All Pac-12. He had 19 hurries, 2 quarterback hits, 5 sacks, 20 run stops. And another guy who is a big fella but is nimble, and you talk about footwork and being able to change direction, he's the guy. Talk about him.
Yeah, he was getting day one hype, a lot of day one hype before the season, before the opt-out. And I think, honestly, that's the only reason we're not talking about him at 26. It's the only reason that he's in that second, maybe early 3rd round. And if he can show these teams that he's been working and hasn't lost a step over the last year, he may vault back up into the early part of day 2. I don't know if sitting out a whole year, he can get back into the day 1 conversation, but he may not be around at 59. But like you said, he's big, he's fast, he's nimble, he's got powerful hands. His handwork we'll see a few clips here that are coming up. His handwork is fantastic. And like Nixon, he seems to be a guy that can get his eyes in the backfield, but also keep his eyes on his man. It's an ability that only some of these guys have, the play recognition that you were talking about that comes from, okay, I know what you're doing right here in front of me, but I also got one eye back. He can do both without, losing his fight with the guy right across from him. It's very impressive.
I'm with it. A guy who they think comparatively to Pro Football Focus says Tristan Hill is the comparison, which, I could see that athletic guy. Man, does he close on quarterbacks? Does he close on ball carriers too, man? So they label him a 4th round grade. I probably have him late 2, early 3. I think that there's some really I mean, he moves so well. It's hard not to see him being some sort of average to above average to even really good player at the NFL. I mean, look how quickly he's moving there. I mean, that's a quarterback that can move. Thompson there at UCLA, and it is a nice example of a swim move there against Oregon. I think it was back when Justin Herbert was there in 2019. I don't know. There's a lot to like about his game. He doesn't lean on people. He gets down the line. He moves quickly. I think there's an element to how he'll handle combo blocks at the NFL, but we'll see about that stuff. That's a power thing, and how he tests and some of those things will help with that. But he moves, man, and he's got a feel for things too, the same way Nixon did as well.
I'm with you. Yeah, the hand work, you could see it through all those clips. He'll knock the hands away, and then there was one, I think we're past it already, but there was one where he bulled, and then once he figured out, he pushed his guy right back in with the bull rush, and then when the quarterback held onto the ball too long, he basically just grabbed him and threw him onto the ground and just went past him. So he's fast, but he's not just fast. He's not like an undersized, nimble, quick guy, and that's all he's got. He can also, stand there and fight you toe to toe. And that's what you want in your guy. You want a guy who can do both. And he doesn't make the play there, but you can make a quarterback use every ounce of speed to get away from you at his size. That's impressive. Yeah,
I'm with you. So another mid-round player that would be nice. And we'll talk about another guy who a lot of you viewers are familiar with is Tommy Togiai, right? Who is Ohio State product who came on this year. Is 6'2", 300. He's a junior, 21 is what he'll play at this year. You can check the stats in front of you. Sort of finally came on in 2020, had a breakout season after not much productivity in 2019. So, I think Tommy is a true 3-4th round guy in my opinion, but somebody who I think can come in and be a nice rotation player. What do you think of him?
Yeah, absolutely. Big time PFF darling. He plays with good leverage. He knows that he's at 6'2". He might be a little shorter than a lot of the guys across from him. So he just, instead of trying to fight it, he just uses it to advantage. Once he gets under a guy, you're in serious trouble. He can improve his pass rush arsenal, but he's got good vision. He's got good recognition. Once he is into the backfield, he's quick and can chase down the line. But like you said, a guy in that range, 3rd round, 4th round, something like that, if he can come in, be a contributor. I mean, you hate to say he's never going to be a big time sack guy, but if he can just come in and just push that middle, which he's shown the ability to do, just push it on a consistent basis with what we've got on the outside, and hopefully are bringing in more of on the outside. That's all you really need. He can be a very valuable piece to the rotation on that defensive line.
Yeah, comparison to Matt Ioannidis, which I think is a good comparison. I mean, it's a good player in the NFL, good role player, not a great player, but a nice player for Washington. Bull rush is his strength, apparently. I would agree with this. This is from Ben Fennell on Twitter. Did a great job of breaking down his game against Clemson.
Good vision.
Very reactionary. Man. Yeah, good feel for schemes too. Doesn't get lost all that often. This is a great example of handling an initial double team and sticking and finishing a play. Good upper strength, like you said. If he gets under you, he's going to win that battle. Great swim to split another double team. How do people handle double teams? That's a great question about any prospect, because the NFL, you see more double teams than any other level you've played at. And it's good players, man, that are coming after you with double teams. Togiai dominated that Clemson game. He put a lot of great film on display in that game, and he does a great job handling people. Yeah, trying to cross his face. He does a great job with it too. So, I don't know that he'll ever become a great NFL defensive tackle, but like you said, you need somebody that can come in, that can be a part of a rotation, handle double teams, keep linebackers clean, but also get after the quarterback a little bit too, using that lower body strength. The length might not be great. His arms might not be all too long, but, like you said, recognize it, find ways to combat it, and play through what your strengths are. Bull rush, people stay low, win with power moves. So, he's a fascinating prospect, and one I think that if you pass on some guys early, is somebody that you could be very interested in. And the next guy we're going to talk about here is probably the hidden gem of the class. Ali Mcneill is listen, he's built in an interesting fashion. He is built like Tyler Sheldon. He's built. I think I got the weight wrong here. He's 320. I think I have him listed at 300. He's definitely a 320, 6'2". He's not tall, but he's stout, and he's got some length, And people might view him as a more traditional nose. Pro Football Focus compares McNeill to Javon Hargrave, which I think is a great comparison, and which I ultimately think is, if his result is being that type of player at the NFL level, they have a second-round grade on him. I think that's a home run. He did not have any sacks last year, but 11 hurries is a good number for a zero-nose playing defensive lineman. Now, he'll play more shade in Cleveland, which will allow more opportunities to get after the quarterback. His 2019 7-sack number is probably about what he is. I think that's a little more indicative of who he is getting after the quarterback. But, people will talk about, well, he's only a nose and a 3-4. I don't think that's true at all. I think he can play a shade. And I even think when I texted you earlier, Steve, about your comment about it too, I think he can play the 3. They are athletic. He's athletic enough to get off people and play the 3. He's a second-team All-American, first-team All-ACC this past year, 90.7 Pro Football Focus grade, which is phenomenal. We just had Patton Sidbeck here in the comments mention his snatch is impressive. The guy's good, man. And I think the second-round grade is right, and he might be the second defensive tackle taken, even ahead of Nixon. Where are you at with McNeill?
Yeah, I'm with you. The athleticism is impressive. He was a running back in high school, which, imagine that. You're some 15-year-old linebacker, and this is coming at you with a full head of steam. You're not going to live to see the prom. But, he's tremendously athletic, which you'll see. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's absolutely right. He comes – almost all these clips, maybe all of them, he's in the true nose. But if you imagine him in a gap out on the 3, like you said, you can see the athleticism. Now, he does tend to rely on the athleticism a little bit more. His technique kind of lacks at times, but that's something that can be taught. If he can add that to his obvious athleticism and nonstop motor, look at him. 300 and whatever, and he's not going to catch King, but he chased him pretty good. He made him use all his speed to get away from him. He's a guy that if you put him in the right situation, maybe he's not going to put up 10, 12 sacks, but he's going to be in the quarterback's lap quite a bit, which is, when you have Myles Garrett on one side and insert free agent or early draft pick on the other side, he's going to create a lot of opportunities for sacks for those guys on the outside, which with this defense, that just only makes the back end better.
Yeah, I think teams try to play centers often who are not the strongest of their fundamental front 5 offensive linemen. And if he gets under you, he's going to win. He's just going to win. And if you double him, the thing I've liked about some of these clips is if you try to double him, he's typically anchoring and able to handle at the line of scrimmage. So, to me, when you watch his tape, I see a guy who can win by handling double teams, keeping linebackers free, but also by being able to create plays on his own. And if you leave him single and soloed up, man, look at it right there handling that double team. No ground given up, period. And if you leave him on his own, which you see, I believe you're going to see it right here, he gets up underneath your shoulder pads, man. He's going to shed you and make a play. I'm really interested in him. And I think if he's there, I think another guy that if they took him in the second round, I wouldn't have a problem with it because I think he's going to be a really productive player. Now, do they think he's repetitive to maybe what Larry did? Do they think he's repetitive a little bit to Andrew Billings? I don't know, but I think I'd be fine with him taking him because there's a lot to work with there. There's a lot of athleticism. There's a lot of technique they can add to him and give him some moves, and you got a really good defensive tackle potentially at a young age. So where are you at on that one?
Yeah, I'm with you. For some reason, he continues to hang around late day 2, early day 3 on most of the boards that I see. And if you run any of the simulators, that's where he's usually available. But when you watch him, I'm with you. I think I personally would think 59 would be a more accurate pick for him. But if he's around at that 89, 91 turn at the end of day 2, and they haven't addressed it yet, absolutely. Run it up. Run the card up. I would take this guy in a heart. You take a chance on big, fast, athletic guys with nonstop motors. You take a chance that you can coach up their technique and coach them up because you're gonna win a lot of those gambles.
I'm with it. Those are 5 options we gave you guys. This has not been a heavy comment night, and that's okay. If you have any questions, shoot us. Tag us, please. Don't just ask the question. Tag Jake, tag Steve in the Ask the Insider section about these guys. We're happy to answer and comment on them. We're always happy to have discourse on Twitter. We appreciate people coming in with good questions and good responses to, hey, why'd you pick that guy? Tell me about him, that kind of stuff. We will get into any of that. Steve has daily mocks that are up that are fantastic stuff. Happy birthday to you as well, my friend.
Oh, thank you. It just means I'm closer to 100 than I am to the day I was born. That's all it means.
We turned the corner. That's all it is, man. We
I
just
turned the corner and I broke a hip. It's required. Yeah.
Well, I've got mine Sunday, so I'm 32 Sunday. So I'm starting to feel a little bit, but I can't complain. I can't complain much. Listen, thanks for joining us. There have been about 40 of you guys in and out. Some dipped into the 30s. I hope you enjoyed it. We did it the same night today as the OBR weekly show with Barry and Fred. We will probably switch that up. They'll probably go to Tuesday, but I hope you're watching that and taking that in because those guys do a great job too. Otherwise, we appreciate you joining us. We will be back next week with another Draft Central show as usual. And Steve will be back with more draft content throughout the rest of the week and into the weekend. And again, check out that Jordan Elliott film room if you're a subscriber. We just put that up as well. And many more great things will come up as we look at the rest of the interior D-line options. So until next time, guys, we appreciate you. Go Browns. Steve, have a great night, my friend.
You too. Thanks for joining us, guys.